Hello and welcome to Board Stupid. My name's Wayne.
And I'm Matt.
And this is the next in our series of games that you want to get if you want to start a collection. And you should check out the link above somewhere up here for our top beginner games.
Previous episode.
Yeah, the previous episode of this series. So that's 10 games if you're just dipping your toes into the shallow waters of this wonderful hobby called board gaming. And this episode, we're moving into intermediate games.
So, what is an intermediate game level?
That, I think everyone's got a different definition, but we're trying to put a circle around it.
We had a chat and we decided
that it's kind of, if you imagine mechanisms as either being broad, i.e. lots of different types of mechanisms blended together, or very deep, so either one mechanism done in a very complex way with lots of cascading effects. With your beginner games, it's either only a little bit broad or only a little bit deep. With intermediate, we're going broader, so slightly more mechanisms pushed together, or deeper. So those mechanisms being more complex, more interesting, with more cascading effects. So intermediate is slightly more.
Yeah, and it's, again, these are games that will not take you ages learning the rules. But it will take you a little bit more than 10 minutes. So the rule book started getting thicker. A little bit thicker,
but only a couple of pages.
Yeah, but not too much. Again, this, as this series says, we're trying to give you 10 ideas for your next board games that you need to buy if you just started. And again, then we will have in episode 3 something for someone that already knows about board games, and episode 4 stuff for very heavy board gamers. So,
absolutely.
Stay tuned for that. But should we start?
Let's start with the first one in our intermediate games.
For our first one, we got a modern classic. This game broke the market a few years ago. It went like big, and of course it's a great game, and is Wingspan. Wingspan is a 1 to 5 player, plays around 45 minutes an hour or something a little bit more, and it's an engine building game where you play with a lot of birds. Because the birds.
Bird is the word. The bird is the word. It's and when we say engine building, what we're trying to really say is you're going to create a lot of effects on your tableau of cards, which you're going to then activate on your turn. And ideally, if you've got a good engine, it's going to give you lots of bonuses. Then when your turn comes around again, you'll activate it again and get a lot of points.
Yeah, exactly. So in Wingspan, you're basically collecting birds, and each bird will have different abilities. And when you stack them one after the other, when you start on one of the rows of your birds, one bird will activate, will give you something, that the other one will give you something else. And a lot of time you can create combos where one bird's influence what another bird is going to do, and so on. So that's why you create this engine. So one after the other, the things happening for you to score more points.
It's a wonderful, wonderful game. The theme is amazing. It's a very accessible theme. It's not like your traditional board gamer themes like sci-fi or anything like that. So you can play this with, almost any kind of person really. From your parents to your gran if they're up for it as well. It's absolutely more complex than the stuff in the simple category, but absolutely easy enough to teach to most people. Pretty simply, I think.
Absolutely. It will probably take them a couple of rounds to understand what's going on, and that's it. The games can go a little bit deeper. Like once you start playing this game quite a lot, you will start recognizing some of the mechanisms, some of the combos that you can put together. So that's why it's on our list.
It gives you a couple of really interesting ways to play, because you can play Wingspan just by picking the birds that give you the points. Right? You don't even have to worry about the powers.
No.
Right? So if you're learning the game, you can just tell people, just go for the points. But then, as you say, when you get better at it, you start to look at the powers as well, and you start making all these crazy combos. But yeah, that's our first one. It's Wingspan.
Next one on the list is another classic, and is Quest for El Dorado, and we really like to play this game.
Love this game.
The game is a 2 to 4 players, plays around 30 minutes to an hour, depending how fast you are. And I'm saying that because the main mechanics of the games is a deck building and a racing game at the same time.
Absolutely, yeah.
You're basically one of the explorers trying to get to El Dorado, and to get there you will have to race against the other
yeah, you want to be the first to get to El Dorado. This is what we mean by we're getting broader in the mechanisms. So we're combining two very distinct mechanisms and types of game together, where we're racing but we're also deck building. And deck building, if you don't know, you've got a little deck of cards and you're going to be adding cards to it over the course of the game to make it better. And the wonderful thing about this game is, although it adds that sort of breadth of complexity, it's such a simple concept to teach people.
Yes.
Because all of the cards have symbols, the symbols match what's on the map, and you will move across the map according to the symbol.
Yeah.
And once people learn that, they go, oh.
It's pretty easy. So, so in this race, you will have to get from one point of the map to the other, and you will have to pass through deserts or forests or water. And your cards in your hands, you will have cards that will let you go faster if you go on a desert tile, or faster if you go on the water tile, and that's where you're using your deck building.
Yeah.
So you will have to buy these cards from a market that is shared between all the players, trying to build your deck. So when you are in front of a river and you need to cross it, you need to hope to have that cards in your hand that will let you cross the river.
Yeah.
So these are the two mechanics, and this game does both in
just perfectly well. I think really well.
Yeah.
It's a Rainer Knizia game, so you might hear that name quite a lot. If you get into board gaming, he's a legendary board game designer, and this is one of his modern gems. It's Quest for El Dorado. Fantastic game. Couldn't recommend it enough. Great racing game, really fun, very replayable.
Yeah,
lots of maps that you can change and different layouts, which is good.
And a lot of Indiana Jones
sort of vibes going on,
if you like it. So
absolutely. Okay, so we're bringing out hit after hit on this episode of the show with our next pick, which is Pandemic. Pandemic is a cooperative game that plays 2 to 4 players in under an hour, designed by Matt Leacock. And Matt, there are tons of versions of this game.
Yeah. So this game's in 2008, something like that. It's 2023. Still the original game hadn't aged at all.
Yeah.
And it's so good that this series now, we can call it a series of Pandemic games. There are probably like 20 different versions of the game, between expansions, between the Legacy series, that is as one of the newest one, and
different themes of it.
Different themes. There is
making the
Cthulhu
mechanisms different.
one.
Yeah.
There is, I believe, a Star Wars one.
Yes, there is.
There is a Marvel one, maybe, or something.
And they all
like
play
that.
differently as well. They changed the.
But the core game is still the same.
Yeah.
Talking about the core game, so as a co-op game, you and your friends basically play not against each other to see who's better, but you play together against the game, against what the game's trying to throw to your face. So in this specific co-op, each one of the players will play a different character that will have different abilities. So for example, you got medics, or you got doctors, or you got military, or you got Frank. But yeah, what you're trying to do is to play all together, pull in the same direction with your team, and trying to beat whatever quest or whatever difficulties the games gives to you.
So that's cooperative games in Pandemic, kind of prophetically for a game that was released in 2008.
Yeah.
You're trying to beat a pandemic. You're trying to cure 4 diseases, and if you can cure the 4 diseases, you win. Like what's quite typical in cooperative games, which makes them very easy to understand, there's only one way to win, which is that there are loads of ways to lose.
Yeah.
but in Pandemic, there's one way to win. And the great thing about cooperative games, Matt, you can learn it together without worrying about your mate beating you if you show them your cards or whatever like that.
Yeah, you don't have that pressure as like, that difficulty with the new games every time at the start. It's like, oh, I'm going to be rubbish at this game. I don't want to play. This one, everybody plays together. So even if you got someone that never played before or someone that played a lot of time before that, you can put them together because at the end of the day, each one needs to help each other to achieve what the end of the game.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic, fantastic game. Still holds up today, still available everywhere. Pick your flavour, but for the sake of this list, it's the original Pandemic.
Now, next one, we got one that Wayne want me to say the title because I'm gonna be able to do it, but it's the Quacks of Quedlinburg.
Oh, that's pretty good.
That was good. that was good on the first day. Amazing. Quacks of Quedlinburg is a back-building game. Plays 2 to 4 players, around 45 minutes. And now Wayne is going to tell everything about it.
The Quacks of Quedlinburg won the Kennish Builder Yar a few years ago, as of the date of this video, and it's a fantastic, fantastic bag building game. One of the wonderful things about this game, Matt, is it plays pretty much simultaneously. So there are plenty of games like this where you're going to basically go at the same time. And in Quacks of Quedlinburg, you're going to be putting your hand into your bag of tokens, pulling one out at the same time as your opponents, and then you're going to be enacting its effect. And the theme of this game is really, really fun, almost for all ages. You are competing witches, wizards, trying to brew the best potion, right? And if you pull too many types of ingredients, i.e. tokens out of your bag of a certain type, your potion will blow up in your face. So, and that, well, not literally, because that would be a very interesting game. But figuratively speaking, that just means you won't get a couple of bonuses, and that's basically it. With the idea being to try and build the best potion, and building the best potion or making the best potion will get you more points, will get you the ability to get better ingredients. So for the next round, you're going to be able to brew even better potions. It's a fabulous game. Again, not too complex to teach. Certainly not a beginner game because the amount of different tokens and the things that they do can be a little bit off-putting for people that have never really played board games before. But it's not really a difficult one once you've got the idea of it.
Yeah, and it's got this bag building mechanisms that you need to draw something out of your bag. It's kind of like a deck building,
yeah, absolutely.
But instead of cards, you got token that goes inside a bag. It's still a fun and tactile experience.
Absolutely.
That is always fun to have. Yeah.
Absolutely. And as you're dipping your hand into the bag and you're thinking, if this one particular ingredient comes out, it's going to blow my potion up, but surely it won't. I've got like loads of ingredients in here. It's always going to be that one, I promise you. And it will keep you coming back for more. So that's the next pick. It's a bag builder, and that's Quacks of Quedlinburg. Say it again, Matt.
Quedlinburg.
So, Matt, we've had some modern classics, but what have we got next on the agenda?
We got a modern.
A modern, yeah.
This game is the newest one in this list. And it's a game that we actually played quite a lot recently. We discovered this game during Spiel this year, Spiel 2023, and it's Haunted Lands from Ludus Magnus Studio. Why is this game in this list? This is the perfect Euro game or introduction to the Euro games mechanics. And what does it mean?
So, Euro games are typically going to be much more rules-bound, much more focused, less randomization, less dice chucking and, warring against people and stuff like that. So you might have things like resource generation or selling those resources to get, victory points or to get various other things. It might involve some sort of movement around a grid. It might involve some sort of collecting of different tokens. So Euro mechanisms can involve a whole bunch of different things, and the great thing about Haunted Lands is it's kind of an intro, as you say, to a few different types of Euro-style mechanisms. And it does it really well.
Yeah, in a very fun way, easy to learn. It is gonna take you 15-20 minutes. You will get around what all the rules are. There are a lot of things going on, but not too many.
Absolutely.
So this game, like for me, I'm not a big Euro lover. This game is perfect for me because it's got a lot of different Euro mechanics without going too much into that. Into
really
the grinding.
Heavy grind of farming in the Mediterranean.
And at the same time, the artworks and the theme is not brown at all.
No.
So it's
not brown Euro.
There is a lot of fun things to do. You're banishing ghosts. You get resources. You buy new skills. Everything done very fast. It's not like dwelling too much around what I'm gonna do my turn. You got a few things you need to do during your turn, and this game is so new. I think it still need to actually go
pre-order it maybe.
I think it's on pre-order. Check the Ludus Magnus Studio Instagrams or stuff for getting news about this. But this is gonna be a big game. We think this is gonna be so big because it got all these things made so easy.
It's an excellent game. It's one of our games of the year for 2023, as is the date of this video. And you should certainly check it out.
And we got a review for this game, so we're gonna put the links there where it is. So have a look at that as well.
Absolutely. It's our next one, Haunted Lands. So we had our super modern game. We've got another modern game, and one that's done very well in the past 5 or 6 years with, again, a bunch of different themes. Matt, what is it?
It's a dice chucking game. It means that you're gonna roll a lot of dice, and one of my favorite game is Dice Throne. In Dice Throne is 2 to 4 players. My pick will be for 2 players, the 1 versus 1.
Better at 2.
And each one of the players will have his own a character and his own character board, and you play something very similar to Yahtzee. You basically chuck your dice, and each one of the character will have different things with different dice numbers that you can combine to each other to do special attacks, to do special defense, to poison the other character. It's just fantastic, and on top of that, you got a little bit of a card management. So you will pick cards and you can play cards, spending your command points. It's simple to understand in terms of like the game. Each character will have a different difficulties of how you can use it. Some are very straightforward. You just chuck dice, and each time you get
hit the person,
you hit the person. Other ones are gonna be like, oh, I'm poisoning you, and then I'm gonna retreat into the shadow so you can't do me damage. All that kind of stuff. But it's a fantastic game if you want to roll a lot of dice.
Absolutely, it is. Yeah.
The game is now, I think, the 4th season is coming out, so each season will have around 8 characters that you can play, and each character is very different to each other, so you can play a lot of this game, or you can become very good with 1 or 2 different characters. They did the first 2 seasons you got 16 different characters, and now they did a Marvel version where you can play with Thor or Iron Man or stuff like that, and not Iron Man, but Miles Morales you can play. There is a new one on Kickstarter that is just finished with the X-Men character. But yeah, roll a lot of dice, duel your friends, and have a lot of fun with this Dice Throne.
It's a cracking game. I think there's even a co-op version as well, right?
There is a co-op version where you play against some bosses. So yeah, you can play like up to 4 players against a boss. Again, same things. You're rolling dice and trying
combos,
to score. Yeah,
try and kill your opponents. It's a cracking dice chucking game. It's Dice Throne.
Okay, for our next one, I think one thing's missing on our list is an economy game. And Wayne, what's your favorite economy game?
Well, I've got a few, but this one it was absolutely probably one of my games of the year this year, and it's weirdly enough a game from 1994, which is Big Boss. This game never got a release in English until this year, 2023, and it got completely updated rules when they worked with the designer, Mr. Kramer, to get a new updated rule set for that. And it's a fantastic, fantastic game. You are competing big bosses, like big business people, investing in different companies on the board. And it's absolutely wonderful as it does it, because it's a very simple to teach and understand game. On your turn, you're either buying a card or you're playing a card. Love that.
Yeah.
Classic Euro style design. You do one thing on your turn, you pass it over to your opponent, and they do one thing on their turn, and it comes back around again. Seems straightforward, but when you play a card, that's where the fun begins. You're either going to be founding a new company, and you're going to increase that company's share price, or you're going to be investing in existing companies, and you're going to increase their share value even more. You're going to get returns on your investments as well. So the trick of the game here is to try and make sure that you're investing in companies that you think other people are going to be growing.
Yeah.
So you want to invest early, like you would do in the real stock market, to hope that the value increases over time. And you have this magical point at some points in the game where two companies start to merge, and just like in real life, the big one eats the little one, and everyone gets a payout. But the person who has that big company, that their shares will increase massively after that, and they'll start steamrolling ahead. It's a magical, magical game. It's got some open drafting in it, and the way the game works is very interesting as well in terms of what you do.
Yeah.
You've got different numbers on a board, numbers I think it's 1 to 72.
Yep.
You've got matching cards. When you play a card, you can put a block of one of the sort of tower blocks that you're going to put on the board on that number.
Yeah, so you can build only there where your number, where your cards tells you can. It's a great game. It's a great interactive game.
Yes.
At some point, you can start investing on other people company, hoping that they're gonna do good.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of interactivity. The production of the game is fantastic.
Yeah.
When you build the your skyscrapers and
it's a very
stuff,
vertical game. Yeah.
It's a really good game. Again, it's not too complex.
Nope.
Again, it's right for this intermediate type of board games.
There's enough strategic depth there to get into it.
It's kind of like more on the longer side. It's probably like an hour and a half to play the game. But yeah, this
is one of those rare games, especially on this list, that will play 5 people very well. There's not many games that do 5 as well as 4 and as well as 3. It'll play up to 6, gets a bit longer then, but it will still play
probably,
up.
5
pretty well.
5's
a good number. 4 and 5 is a really good number for that game. Absolutely spectacular game, and I think you can still pick this up from Funko Games, the newest edition, the one that's in English. Don't get the German one unless you're German. Feel free.
If you're German,
you crack on. but the English one you can pick up for less than £30. And for the production in the box is absolutely staggering. So that's our pick for an economy game, stocks and shares game. It's Big Boss. Next up, we're going back to the good doctor, Mr. Rainer Knizia, with the spectacular bidding game, Ra. Ra is a fabulous game, and this is one of those games that does one mechanism really well, with some depth, right? And that's that sort of bidding auction.
Yeah. So what's going to happen during in this game? You're basically betting every turn. You will have some number, some amount of
things to bid on,
things to bid on, and whoever bids the highest will get all the lot. And that's how you're getting some tiles where they're gonna build your score at the end of the game. That is purely what the game.
It's such a smooth game. You have very simple rules. On your turn, you either pull a tile out of the bag to add to the lot, or you invoke Ra with the ridiculous production in this new version, which you should check out, to then force a bid to start.
Yeah.
From that point onwards, everyone has to choose whether they want to bid on the tiles that are in the lot, or they're going to pass, and the winner, like you say, will take all of the tiles.
Yeah.
But it does a couple of very clever things. It's a fixed bidding system, so you don't just bid like based on coins or money. You've got specific values that you can bid with.
And once you use those values will go back onto the board for someone else to take.
Yes.
So if you go, I think it's the numbers goes 1 to 20.
Well, 1 to 16.
1 to 16. You might be lucky at the start of the game to have the 16, so to have the highest value, so you know that you're gonna win for sure something. However, once you use it, you put it in the middle.
It becomes part of the lot, right?
For the next players to pick it up. That means that you need to think about when you're gonna bid higher, when you wanna try to bring the other people to bid, because again, everybody can see that you got the highest number or the lower number. So there are very interesting betting mechanics. Reading the table, reading the player, trying to understand if it's the value of points there are at that point on the board, are they really worth it, those 16 points or not? So again, as you say, it's one mechanic, really, really well done.
Yeah, done with like absolute perfection.
Yeah.
And you get this really wonderful moment when you have very low values left that you can bid with. And you've got people that have got very high values, and you only see a couple of tiles come out in the lot, but you will just force people to bid.
Yeah.
You're like, do you really want to spend that 15 on these couple of tiles? Because you know that they're going to be great for you, but you're kind of forcing people to then, spend it for not a lot, and sometimes they'll have to.
Yeah,
and it's a great game for that.
Yeah,
really
that's why it's like in the every betting real betting stuff when you need to, or you're playing poker, you need to play the other player, push the other player to do mistakes or to bet on something that they should have not. So absolutely, this game is perfect. We got a special video about this game as well. As for our favorite betting game of all time, bidding game of all time. So have a look at this. But this is why Rat should be in your board game collection.
Absolutely, it should. Another legendary designer is Mr. Stefan Feld, and he's done some fabulous mathy Euro games, and this is a great one for the next step in your collection, and it's the Castles of Burgundy.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite games. I know that it's not one of yours.
He fought me to put it on this list.
I think for this kind of level,
he said he'd quit the show.
I think for the intermediate level, this is perfect. It's got open drafting and tile placement. So you got these two mechanics. So you need to build your own board while playing on the main board at the same time. So you start having more and more mechanics, as we explained at the start. That's why. And this game is a classic. Does these two things.
It's a legendary game.
Does these two things, but really, really well. So you will have to go to the market to buy your tiles, and then placing your tiles in a specific way, trying to get combos and more points. So at the same time, your opponents can see that, he really needs that tile, so they can try to buy it just to get it away from you. And plus on the main boards, it's gonna be like other way of scoring points, like building this or that. It's really good. It's a modern classic as well.
It is, genuinely,
It's been there forever, and I think that it's gonna be there forever. There is last year, I can't remember who. Awakened Realms, of course. They did a fantastic new edition of the game. They look so good.
It's a beautiful edition of it.
I was really, really tempted, but my girlfriend almost murdered me for just to say it. But yes, Castle of Burgundy. It should be in every collection, I think. It's playable. It's 1 to 4 players. Plays in around like 60 minutes.
Depending on the number of players.
But it plays perfectly with 2 players or 4 players. Absolutely, you can play 2 or 4 players. The game's still really good, and you will find playing these games a lot. It's one of those that if it's there on the shelf, you see it, you'll be like, yeah, why don't we play this one? Have a look. You will not regret it.
It is a classic. It's Castles of Burgundy.
Right, we are at the end of our list, and best for last, probably.
For me, probably.
Definitely for you.
Probably.
Yeah, tell us which one is on the list.
This pick is a worker placement pick. It's one of my favourite games of all time, and that is Raiders of the North Sea, designed by Shem Phillips. And a worker placement game, Matt, and as you may or may not know, dear viewer, is when you have a piece, a worker, that you will place on a space on the board and then get an effect. There are a number of different ways that that's implemented and sort of, different designs and how that's done, and they're all very clever. And the wonderful thing about this game, which is why I think it's really quite easy to teach, is there is a golden rule, is that you only have one worker to worry about. That's it.
So that makes it very easy to pick up in terms of rules, and you can focus on that specific mechanics.
Yeah.
Again, it goes deep, this mechanics, so you need to start to understanding where and when placing your workers here or there.
Yeah.
But it's not too complicated.
Absolutely not. And it's wonderful. It does a very clever thing. You put your worker down, you get an effect, then you pick a worker up and you get an effect. And that simple design choice is absolutely magical. The theme is very good. It's a Viking-based theme.
It.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. It's great theme.
It.
It's not a super thematic game. It could have been a number of themes, but it does it pretty well anyway.
Yeah, it's a Viking.
Yeah, you're going raiding up the coast. Yeah.
I mean, what I really like about the game is the fact that it's not a lot of time. Work placement games, I find it too brown, too beige, like very
bit dry. Yeah.
Bit dry. Well, this one you put in your meeple of your worker to go and raid and pillage. Like
it's a bit more exciting.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's a great, colourful game as well. Great colours, great art designed by the Miko.
Yep. Same guys of Endless Winter.
And a number of other games, very, very good. There's also some great cards in the game, which will be your crew, and some great interacting mechanisms with the cards that you can mess about with.
Yeah.
So you're adding a little bit of, I suppose, crew hand management to blow building, where you're building into blow of crew to go and raid with. Really spectacular game. You can get resources to then maybe give to the chief to get points that way. Or you can, like you say, go raiding and get points that way. Or you can just hoard resources and get points that way.
Yeah.
There are a number of different ways to score in this game, and there are a number of great expansions, which we played with today, as a matter of fact, on live recording.
Yeah, they add a little, the expansion adds a little bit more complexity.
Yeah.
But I would say for this level, you can start with the basic game, and that will give you that work placement experience. In a great way, in a fun way, in a thematic way, and in a pretty easy to learn way. Yes, so
very nice production as well for what it is. Hopefully you can still pick it up relatively cheap.
Yep.
I got mine for very cheap when it first came out.
Well, that was lucky. But it still went up a little bit. I think it became more and more popular, this game.
Absolutely. So still available, and that's our worker placement pick, one of my favourite games ever, and a great intermediate game, Raiders of the North Sea. So Matt, that was our journey into intermediate games, and if you've listened to us word by word, which you should, you'll have now 20 games in your board game collection, which is quite a lot.
Yeah, it started being a collection.
It's starting to be a real collection.
Board game collector.
Yeah, I think so. That's a board gamer's collection right there. But what do you think? Have you got a list of intermediate or next step games that you would recommend that are better than ours, or at least maybe as good? And here's the rules for you. Cannot be too complicated, and if you're a board game geek aficionado, no more than a 2.99 on that scale.
Okay.
Maximum ranking. It must be relatively easy to teach and to learn. So no 50-page rule books, like a couple of pages, a pamphlet at the most. And lastly, must be available, because we can't tell you to build a board game collection if you can't buy the board game.
That's quite a thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
if you can't buy it, you can't
what's
have
the
it.
point? So as of the date of this video, must be available. And if you liked this video and if you like what we do, make sure to smash the like button.
Subscribe.
Absolutely. Check out the rest of the videos for more content. Follow us on Instagram. Check out our podcast as well. We're everywhere these days, Matt.
We're trying to. Yeah.
We're trying to be. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you again real soon.
Ciao.